heard, there are certain people, and I think they're residing more in the western area of the United States, that have this little group going that believe that the Earth is flat.
It seems to me there's more and more of them every day.
I was going to ask, how little is little?
I don't know. It depends, because each person thinks that the other is a shill or an operative for the government and is looking to discredit the Flat Earth Society.
So there's a Flat Earth Society, and then there's the Flat Earth Movement. And then there's the Flat Earthists.
Flat Earthists?
Yeah.
Is there a difference between these all?
Yeah.
All the groups?
I think there is.
Unfortunately, there is. There's no... They can't get together and hug and say, yeah, let's all agree that the Earth is flat. They all want to...
So apparently Eric Dubé throws in the Jews...
Yes, he throws
as
out...
being behind all of this.
Yes, he wants the Jews to really be the masterminds behind the Flat Earth conspiracy. He really does. He hates the Zionists. And I can't figure out why he hates the Zionists so much, outside of the fact that maybe at some point he was part of the truther movement of the early 2004, 2006 era.
Refresh us on the truther being the truther as in
the guy
9/11 is not...
Exactly.
Okay.
The ones who were protesting everything in New York. They were running up behind the Bilderberg group. They were chasing David Rockefeller down.
So what we would refer to as conspiracy theorists.
Yeah, but they had this whole website and movie situation going on where they were creating all these documentaries, homespun documentaries, but documentaries nonetheless, of them trying to get to the bottom of the U.S. involvement in the dropping of the Twin Towers.
Okay, but there's other flat earthers who believe that this Eric Dubé character that also believes in a flat earth doesn't believe in a flat earth. He is a government operative or something.
Right.
And that the whole throwing the Jew thing in is a way to discredit the flat earthers. In the way that this other guy, I don't even know who the guy with the mask is. Okay. Or no, not the guy with the mask. He's I don't even know who he is. He's someone completely different. But this Mark Sargent fellow, is he the guy that believes in aliens?
I don't want to say yes, I don't want to say no. I don't write down any of their names. I watched...
Okay, so somebody also believes, instead of Jews, that it's aliens behind it. So then that part of it is going to discredit the flat earthers.
The Dark City scenario.
Okay, so then there's this other group of flat earthers that are against both of these two, that are completely sincere in their beliefs. It's not Jews, it's not aliens, it's everyone else.
Everyone else is hiding God from the people.
It's God, isn't it?
That's what they all seem to boil down to, is that...
Okay, so the one video that I sent you of Laurie Frary speaking with the other guy that sounds like that main comedian Bob Marley. Not that Bob Marley. She mentions God once. She says that, this seems like they just want to take God out of the equation. And that's all she says about God in the whole thing. But the fact that she said it, does that make them yet another camp? I don't follow.
So they're all relying on the same idea.
The earth is flat.
That the earth is flat, that we live on a plate. And on the edges of this plate exist miles high walls of ice that kind of keep everything
150 feet.
Of 150 feet. They keep everything in place and going. that there is no gravity.
Now, I have to interrupt here.
Okay.
I have to say that I took a different stance than the three of you, and I focused more on Daniel Shenton.
I haven't heard your statement.
Senton, I believe it is. He's the president of the International Flat Earth Society,
Okay.
and he's the one that actually was the president and follows the beliefs from the, I want to say it was the 1500s or whatever. It was the Zetetic method. And that's how I went about it. I didn't focus on
Did you
Mark
read that
Sargent
book?
and so forth. I did.
I started reading it.
It's difficult.
Fuck yeah, it is. Did you read the book?
I did not. I didn't even touch
You're not
it.
missing much. I mean, Zetetic was just a word that they used instead of theoretic.
Right.
So, right there, it's...
But you know that with that being said, you know, in that method, Earth's gravity is an illusion,
Okay.
and objects do not accelerate downward. The Earth accelerates upwards at 32 feet per second squared.
I thought it was 9 feet a second. If it was squared, it would accelerate
No,
exponentially and keep going.
no.
So it's always 32 feet a second, that we're moving upwards in this vacuum at 32 feet a second.
Squared,
Squared.
right. So you'd be at 9.8 meters per second squared. And that's done by what they call dark force.
Dark force.
Dark
Correct.
matter?
No, just dark force.
Just dark force. Right. Or dark, it might be dark energy, actually.
Either it's not dark matter, because dark matter actually
It's not dark
is a real,
matter,
is a
right.
real
It's either
thing.
dark force or dark energy, whatever it may be. But there's disagreement amongst themselves as to what point is it just going to indefinitely keep going? Because if so, then it's going to surpass the speed of light, as you were saying, exponentially.
Right.
So, then what?
Yeah.
And if they're saying that the wall is only 150 feet tall, well, boom, there's your wall. Is the wall going up with it?
Well, I don't think that most of these people have a remedial understanding of physics and a remedial understanding of the world around them, but they have this dark or this mysterious belief system on how things work around them. And that's where I think they really get things mixed up.
They throw numbers around all the time.
They do, because the sun and the moon are only 32 miles. They're spheres measuring 32 miles.
So they say.
So they say. And all the other planets are spheres. Earth is the only disk, though.
But are the moon, the sun are all holographs? Or is
No.
it's a whole nother belief?
That's a whole different
That's a whole
belief.
different belief
Yeah.
system. Okay.
Yeah, we're going. See, I'm
You're
sticking
in-
with the Zetetic.
Yeah, okay. You're in that one. So there are spheres
Right.
that are also moving at the exact same rate of pace that we are up in one direction. So everything is moving up.
Correct.
The sun, the earth, the stars, we're all moving at the same exact speed, at the same exact distance,
No, they cycle around us.
but they still have to be going up, correct? In this
They
the-
don't know. They don't know. They're still arguing that.
Well, in this theory, if the plate is moving up and we can still see all these other things, they have to be moving at the same rate. If they're cycling around us, they still have to be moving at the same rate. We have to be moving in this.
that would
space.
make sense, wouldn't it?
That would make sense in the world of physics,
Correct.
but nobody's using that type of
But they also believe in an anti-moon.
Uncle Moon was no good?
Well, yeah, anti-moon, and, you know, that obscures the moon during... That's how they explain lunar eclipses.
But I thought the lunar eclipse had to do with the black sun.
Depends which method you're looking at.
And which theory?
Exactly.
So out of all of these, what does anybody have what's the wildest example or anything across the board out of all?
Well, I just don't understand why they don't. What I don't.
Why the globe is so hard for them to fathom?
Well, why it's. Yeah, I mean. So their thing with like a fighter jet or an airplane would have to be constantly compensating and pulling up its nose, otherwise it would be crashing into the Earth.
Well, how about the GPS thing? When the document... Oh, you didn't look at the documentary Under the Dome, did you?
No.
So at one point, I couldn't tell you who the narrator...
Mark Sargent.
Okay, Mark Sargent. He was talking about the different flight paths that the planes take, and how it doesn't make sense. And then the GPS was created by the government, so it's one big conspiracy theory about how planes travel, so that we don't know that the Earth is flat. How about the planes? How they disappear off the GPS when they go over the ocean, and then all of a sudden, when they're ready to arrive, they pop up on the GPS. And yeah.
I just don't understand why he didn't actually just book a flight.
Oh, he did virtually.
No, why he actually didn't take the flight. I'm sorry, I said book.
Yeah.
Why he didn't actually take the flight.
Get on the plane and go.
Yeah, and so he could prove it to himself. And I also think Mark Sargent needs a better understanding of math. He also needs a better understanding of how GPS works. He also needs a better understanding of how satellites work. Mark Sargent needs a much better understanding of a lot of things if he wants to go out and portray these things as fact. Because...
You don't think that any of these people really believe this stuff, do you?
I do.
Do you think they're really laying awake in bed at night and they're trying to say, okay, here I am, I'm laying in bed and this Earth is moving up at 9.8 meters and I'm actually moving up in bed, and when I stand up I'm then fighting that, so then I'm actually accelerating that speed as I stand up, and as I climb the stairs to my house I'm actually accelerating the speed of gravity because now I'm moving up against gravity. Do you think they really think about that and take it down that far,
Or they're just on video?
Yeah, I mean,
They just want their 15 minutes?
Are they just stuck? Are they just stuck saying, okay, this is what I want to... I'm gonna play here for a while?
Is it no more than they could be just talking about Jesus or Muhammad, or...
Is this filling into space for that?
Jack, do you remember that video I sent you of that Islamic cleric?
Yeah, who was talking about going to... He was...
Oh.
Yeah, he was trying to give him the idea that if you were going... Was that flat Earth? Was he discussing flat Earth there, or...
Yeah. Unfortunately, he
Or
was.
Really?
I thought he was just discussing that the Earth was the center of the universe.
Or that the Earth didn't spin.
Oh, the Earth didn't spin.
It didn't.
The Earth spin.
Okay.
It
The
didn't
Earth,
spin.
the Earth had no rotation.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
That's why if you went to China, you would get there quicker if you went the other direction.
Right.
But they say, well, why can't you just hover until your destination arrives?
Yeah.
It doesn't
But
quite work that way.
If the Earth is spinning...
But that's the thing, is that we've already answered these fucking questions. We've got this all
Isn't
worked.
that why we can fly?
That's why we can fly. That's why we could send men to the moon with a calculator.
But
You
nobody
have
went to
reached
the
your
moon.
Destination.
Huh?
Nobody went to the moon.
Oh, don't even go there.
Right.
Yeah,
That's...
let's not.
Isn't that part of the Isn't that part of their thing too? Okay, so then there's the video of Obama speaking
Yes.
and mentioning, I don't have time for the Flat Earth Society.
Right.
He's not talking about the Flat Earth Society.
He's not.
That's completely taken out of context.
Yes.
He's talking about the climate change deniers.
Yes.
That's a whole different
Exactly.
everything.
But they got the president to mention
Exactly.
to use these words.
Just to use the words.
Well, think about Bush saying New World Order during his
And boy, Ministry sure had a field day with that.
Ministry did.
And it's a good thing they did.
Alex Jones did. Every other guy who wanted to try and prove that there is this New World Order thing did.
He did say that, though.
Yeah, no,
He did say the words.
He said the words, and
However,
there was a whole nother 15 minutes to that paragraph
exactly.
that nobody ever listens to. And when you
Right.
listen to that full speech, you're like, oh.
He could get FDR saying the same thing.
Yep.
And it would probably sound better with FDR's voice, but that's neither here nor there. Well, I was gonna say that this was gonna be my last episode with you guys because I was gonna be heading out west and joining the Flat Earthers, but
Why don't you go to UK?
I think that
That's where the president of the Flat Earth Society lives.
the weather's nicer out west, though.
Yeah. It is nicer.
But I think that this last few minutes has convinced me that they're fucking nuts.
The dome theory that we exist underneath this dome with these holographic images of the earth and the stars and the clouds is just, it's so outlandish. And then to hear so many different people then regurgitate this idea time and time again, I don't understand.
Is it like a fad? Is it like fashion fads? Like,
I think it's like fashion
so handlebar
theories.
mustaches were in at one point, and then they're out. And hey, look, handlebar mustaches are in again. And hey, guess what? The Earth is flat again.
So that was kind of why I thought this would be a good topic, because it is just another trendy. The world of conspiracy is for all the people to come together and make a plan to keep something or to hide something from another group of people. Okay. And I think that that idea alone is becoming fashionable amongst the people who still subscribe to
Conspiracy theory in general?
the originals. The originals being Roswell, the originals being JFK, the originals being
But those have become
Bigfoot,
so mainstream.
that they're laughable.
They're completely laughable.
Right.
Bubba Hotep with Bruce Campbell.
Right. But those conspiracies are at the heart of everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And if those are your introduction to that type of thinking, of saying, I'm not getting the truth, then all these other ones, all these fractions or faction groups can suck you in.
But then they build on the stuff that came before that, too.
Exactly.
What's the theory with D.B. Cooper, the conspiracy? I mean, he was the guy that jumped out of the plane, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And they found money, couple $100 bills in Oregon and whatnot. And then, so they never found him. The feds
Right.
never found him. But
He's been numerous people throughout the years.
Yeah.
Okay, so you mean a conspiracy as to what his real identity is?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, who
gotcha.
he is. And
But he's never anybody like...
Because the story's cool.
D.B. Cooper wasn't Ronald Reagan, or D.B. Cooper wasn't JFK, or anything big like that. It was...
John Wayne?
Yeah, exactly. You know, it was...
he was a mailman.
Yeah.
He was the guy that was delivering the Nebraska Post. You know, he spent a $100 bill in 1984 in Wall's Drugs.
And nobody had a $100 bill back then,
We've
unless
watched
they
Or
were...
nobody had
Yeah.
had a $100 bill with those serial numbers.
Yeah, unless they were a Rockefeller.
Right, gotcha.
So one of the things that, or two of the things that Sergeant said
Uh-huh.
that got to me, that I decided to one I knew the answer to, and the other one I wanted to follow up on. So I did some investigative work, and I booked myself a trip to Antarctica.
Okay.
It's going to cost me $24,800.
Okay.
And I can spend up to 3 weeks there.
Okay.
And the place that I'm going to visit is actually owned by New Zealand.
Okay.
So his theory of no one can visit Antarctica, it's off limits, everybody is well completely wrong. I have to get $8,000 I have to pay to a French supply ship to get me there. But it's possible. In 2014, there was 47,000 visitors to Antarctica.
They just built a new telescope there.
They did.
Yeah.
The population of Antarctica as of 2012 is 4,000 people.
Yeah.
So the thing is they're not all government employees. I take issue with that. The second issue I take with is in his Under the Dome documentary. He says that if you go on FlightAware or any other flight tracking website, planes traveling over the southern hemisphere disappear. Well, that's because, as I said in the opening of this or earlier in this, Sargent is a fucking idiot. And he might as well slander since it's spoken. But it is my opinion. He might as well use Eric Dubé for his legal counsel. He's another brilliant fuck. But the thing that Sargent doesn't understand, with FlightAware and so forth, is that it uses radar. And radar requires a fucking ground station because it needs to ping back and forth. Since there's nothing in the southern hemisphere, of course it fucking disappears.
Peak.
GPS
But
only is reception. FlightAware is radar. Radar needs to ping back and forth to a ground station in order to figure out where it is.
Or the ship sitting in the southern hemisphere that they ping off of.
Exactly. So if there's nothing there, there's no ground, there's no ship, of course you can't fucking see it.
But if he was to tell anybody that, he wouldn't be able to make his documentary.
Oh, I think he just should say that the Earth, instead of being flat, is shaped like the human ass. And that the southern hemisphere is like the asshole. And once you go over the left butt cheek, you just fall right into the fucking rectum. Now, I personally like to live around the testicles. Sometimes I visit the shaft every once in a while. You know, it's a good thing I brought gloves, because this episode is just going to be too hot to handle.
How do you follow that?
good night, everyone.